Hi, I'm Michelle, and this is my project for Life Documented 2019. Our theme this month is Lay It On Thick, and I thought I would use some homemade modeling paste in my project. So my quote is, "I prefer the rather old and battered things with character to the brand new," and that's by Rick Allen. And I really do love old things, all old things, old papers, old furniture. I developed this love from my father, who has since passed away. I know I didn't always love old things. In fact, I'm sure, and I know I was kind of a snooty teenager, but as I grew up and started to appreciate him more, and I started to appreciate the things that he loved, and I developed a love for those as well. So every time I use old papers and old things, it's a reminder of him, and I love that I can incorporate that into my art. It's just like having a piece of him with me whenever I do it. Anyhow, so I took some old pictures and made copies, and I wanted them to have the same aged look as the actual pictures. So I mixed distress stains and I used fossilized amber with Collage Page and just brushed it on and dried it. And I think it pretty much looked like the old picture. Anyhow, so experiment with things that you have. I did use yellow ochre and Collage Page or matte medium, whatever you have on hand, and just make a thin glaze and let it dry. It works really well. I'm using my square Dylusions journal, and I just put down some gesso with a palette knife, and then I'm just using some found items, or if you have stamps, whatever you have, and just kind of pressing into the gesso to add a little more texture. And all I'm doing is trying to decide the layout of my picture, and I'm grabbing some vintage paper. I'm not sure if it's an invoice or a receipt, but I love the real aged look of it, so I wanted to incorporate that. So I'm just using a glue stick and putting a good amount on there, but I never really worry too much about how well it adheres, because I like it when the edges kind of pull up a little bit and the paint pools around it. I like that look. I like the little battered look. So this is a Crafter's Workshop stencil, and I believe it's called Flower Panel. I'll have the description down below. So I'm using some of my modeling paste and just kind of putting it here and there where I know my picture's not going to be. I don't want to put it underneath my picture because I want it to adhere to a flat surface. So, and I'm putting a pretty good amount, but it's not perfect or precise because I'm not going for that look, but just kind of adding little bits here and there. And when you first make the modeling paste, it's really smooth and it seems to go through the stencils really well. So now I'm just drying it with my heat gun. I usually dry it until it bubbles up because that just adds a little more texture, and that's what I like. And you can see right there in the middle of the flower, it's all poofy. So anyhow, now I'm seeing where I'm going to put my picture again. She's so cute. And I know I pulled out a bunch of different pieces of vintage ephemera, and this is just a little card that I got somewhere, and I thought I liked it because it kind of went with the color of the aging in the photo. And I tried that one too, but then I have an old letter on letterhead from a hotel, and it's called The New American. I believe it was in Pennsylvania. Anyhow, I really, really liked that font and that look. So I just ripped off the top of the letterhead. And if you're young, you probably don't know this, but a long time ago when you stayed at hotels, in the desk at the hotel room, they would always have letterhead so that you could write letters to home. No one does that anymore, so I don't think hotels have that anymore. At least I've not seen it, but I guess a few might. So I'm guessing that's what this person did. So I'm liking those pieces that I put down, and I'm checking out the picture with it. And then I decide to grab some material and see if I wanted to incorporate any of those. But first, I wanted to add some color. So I grabbed some Dr.Ph Martin Caligraphy Ink, and this is in iridescent salmon. Hobby Lobby clearanced a bunch of those out, so I grabbed a few of those. Hopefully you guys did too, because they're beautiful colors. So I'm just spraying that down with some water just to get it to move around the page a little bit and have some drips and whatnot. That doesn't end up staying, but that's what I thought it was going to do. And then I decided it's a little too dark in some areas, and I just really wanted it to fall into the recesses of the modeling paste. And then this is Daler Rowney Orange Acrylic Ink. And I'm just adding water to kind of move it around the page. And I like where it's really dark in some areas where the gesso's not on the paper, and that's kind of why I don't put a smooth layer of gesso on there or a full layer of gesso. And then that's a Jean Davenport mermaid marker, and I'm not sure what color it is. Does it say on the marker? I'm not sure. But it's one of the ones that have the iridescence in it. And then this is just some chalk paint. It's just from Walmart. It's Waverly, and I believe the color's plaster. And I'm just using that to kind of break up the color a little bit and make it a little smoother so it blends a little bit better. And it actually matches the color of the Dylusions journal pages, which are kind of a cream color. And I'm just using my nail to kind of pull the edge of the letterhead up a little bit, so that when I do add more colors, it can kind of fall into place there. And I don't really, my brush is fairly dry at this point, I believe, but it's just mainly to blend everything out, so that I can put the next layer on. And I'm just wiping off my hands because I had all that stuff on it. This is Dina Wakley Turquoise paint, and my bottle was dried out at the tip and it wouldn't come out, so I just put it in a little container. But again, mainly going over those little flower tiles and just adding a little bit of color here and there. And up on that flower as well. And then I'm going to go grab some more of the chalk paint, I believe. Yep. And again, blend everything out so there's no harsh lines. And I really like these paint brushes. They are the Catalyst brand, Princeton. They seem to last forever, and they take paint, they take water, they take inks, and I'm not really that gentle with my brushes, and it's still in really good shape. And that piece is coming up a little bit too much, so I pushed that edge down a little bit more with some glue. And I just gave it a quick dry and more layers, blending those layers out a little bit more again. And it's all a back and forth. And I kind of get lost in the process. Art is really therapeutic for me, and that's the whole reason I do it, is to kind of let all the stress and anything that's bothering me go. This is the fossilized amber distress stain that I used it with the Collage Podge on the picture, and I just wanted to bring that in a little bit too. And I'm going around the edges just to kind of age those pieces of ephemera a little bit more even. And then this is Vintage Photo, and I just have that on a little hunk of craft mat. And I thought this was what I was going for, but then I found something that worked even better. So but not before I add a whole bunch of that. And I'm just going to place my picture, and again, make sure that I have it in the right place. And this is drywall tape, and it has great holes. It's sticky backed, so you just have to peel the backing off. And then I adhere a lot of things with modeling paste. Lay it on thick, that's the whole theme, so it's perfect. So I just press it into that, and then I kind of smooth the edges out. And then this is just a piece of, it's probably like just a piece of muslin or something that I had some other colors on from another project, and I thought it kind of matched the colors on the page. So I tore it and used modeling paste again. And then I pressed it and kind of crinkled it up just to kind of make it look worn and vintage aged as well. And I put it around the edges as well. And then sometimes if I have it thick enough, I will use something to press into the modeling paste, but I think that's probably got enough stuff on there as it is. So I'm just drawing that part too. There's little pieces of material thread in there too, which I like that, so I'm good with it. And then I'm going to dry the drywall tape as well. And then they don't make this tool anymore, but it was by Prima, and it's just a distress tool, but it has so many different ways to distress paper. I love it, and I can't get a replacement for it, but I don't know why they stopped making it. So I'm just peeling away parts of my page just to kind of have it match the rest of the aesthetic. And then I'm doing the same to the picture. And then I'm going to add just a little bit more of the iridescent salmon. I love that color. I don't think it really shows off that well in this because I watered it down so much, but it's really pretty. And now you can see the little circles in that a lot better once I start adding stuff to it. And then I'm doing the same thing to the bottom of the page. And then I'm trying that vintage photo again. I'm not ready to give that up. But I'm putting that on the edges. And I think, yeah, I did. I watered it down a lot less and it was a lot darker at that point. but I just wanted those edges to stand out a little bit more. And I'm going to do the same thing on the picture, on the torn edges. And then just a quick dry, just so that nothing smears. And that's kind of just to show you up close what that looks like. And now I'm just trying to figure out which pieces of material or fiber that I want to use. And I had this piece of, I guess it's like lace that I'm going to pull out next, but that is not what I wanted, what I was going for at all. So that got discarded. And I know that's natural dyed muslin. I just used some natural dyes to dye it. But this is what I decided on. It's just, I believe it's a flour sack towel, and I rust stained it. So then I'm just going to take it over to my sewing machine and well, I say run a line down it, but I usually run several lines because I can't sew in a straight line. So, you know, it looks like I'm doing it on purpose, but I'm not. I'm just trying to cover up the fact that I can't sew a straight line. And then I just cut the ends off and frayed them a little bit. And I'm going to add some modeling paste on top of the material. And then this is like a resin stamp, and I think it's for like screen printing or something. But I like, it doesn't really stamp like on paper well, but it stamps great into modeling paste and gesso. And then this is the stuff that I really liked, that worked really well, and you wouldn't think it would, but it's Jane Davenport Incredible Ink, and it's in hot cocoa, and it smells like hot cocoa too. It's so good. But I love that dot in the center that's going to get covered up, but anyhow. So I start to dry it, and I decide that I have too many splatters on there, so I use some water to kind of blend a couple out, and then I'm like, oh, I kind of like that color. It's kind of got a purple tint to it. So then I decide to blend some of those out. I probably blended a few too many out in hindsight, but I do like how that, I like that color, how it collects. And it's settling in all the modeling paste really well, and on the edges of the papers and the material. So that was the look I was going for with the vintage photo distress stain that I didn't get, but now I got it with that, so that made me happy. And sometimes I just don't know when to stop, so apparently I just keep going. And I'm just going around the that little piece of material that's in the center. And then I dried it, and then I have this, it's just a Reader's Digest large print book. It's where they have the couple of books combined together. And I love to use found words. And so these words, or the words that I chose, say, Katie was ever on my mind. And I think she kind of looks a little bit like a Katie. So those are the words that I chose. And I'm just trying to figure out where I'm going to lay everything down. And that's another piece of the material that I adhered onto the page. And I'm just going to use my Tim Holtz tiny attacher and staple a little bit on the end. And then I'm going to use my glue stick again. And just press her into place. Again, I don't have, it's not really, I can still move it and the edges are still going to come up a little bit, and I'm okay with that. And apparently I didn't like it there, so I picked it up and moved it off to the side. And I'm not quite sure why I did that, but that's what I did. And then I'm just taking a regular mechanical pencil and going around the found words. And then Jean Oliver says to incorporate your own story into your art or pieces of your story. So I grew up on a farm, and it was an older farm, and there was old barbed wire fence all over. So this is kind of like my barbed wire fence that I include. I try and remember, but you know, I don't always. But thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, please ask, and I will be happy to answer. Thanks again. Bye.